X here with National Network View on behalf of the Silent Crime Report. And today I have special guest, Brother Paul Muhammad from Atlanta, Georgia. And him and I are going to converse about communication, search and rescue, and of course, the Amber Alerts. Are they really, really situated and made for our people in our communities? So definitely stand by while we wait for Brother Paul to join us. While waiting, I want you all to note you can follow us on Facebook, National Network View. Also, we have YouTube, National Network View. And of course, we're here, Instagram, NNV News. Check us out, follow us, and leave comments when you find something that you're interested in and you want to get some information. We have updates from worldwide current event information for everybody to be able to enjoy. So thank you again for joining in. We'll wait for Brother Paul to come in shortly. Thank you. There he is. Great, great, great.
All right.
There you
Greetings.
go. Awesome.
Wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum
How are
salam.
you?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm thankful to Allah for today. Yes, I am.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. For Brother Paul, those who don't know who you are, do you mind sharing a little bit of information about yourself with our viewers?
Okay. My name is Paul Muhammad, of course, and I was born and raised in a small, rough town called East St. Louis, Illinois. I'm now living in Georgia. I have various backgrounds, one of them being electronic engineering, emergency management, disaster preparedness, also digital entertainment, which includes a whole slew of different things. So that's just me in a nutshell.
Yes, sir. Wow, it's a lot. You speak about engineering. That alone is a very vast area of study. So
Absolutely.
when it comes to the emergency response portion of that, of course, you are, of course, one of our 10,000 fearless members in the nation, working and following the instructions of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and
Oh,
doing what he
absolutely.
asked us to do. So it's an honor to be able to have you here on the show today to bring awareness to many things. But I definitely want to start out. What is your role in the 10,000 Fearless Responding Team?
Well,
First
first,
responders, excuse me.
first and foremost, I wouldn't even have the mindset to be a part of such if it wasn't for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan under the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. My role is I am the emergency communications coordinator and specialist for the team. So I handle that aspect for the team, teaching and training others how to set up emergency communications plans and how to use the equipment properly.
Yes. And that it's very important, you all, to get this skill. And for sure, he's going to share his information with us all before we end this conversation. But I want you all to take note of what he has for us. This is a very key component to our survival, if you believe it or
Absolutely.
not. Brother Paul,
Absolutely.
we see oftentimes news updates, Amber Alert. Kind of give us an idea of what the Amber Alert purpose is.
Well, the purpose of the Amber Alert is supposed to be able to get the community involved by way of a form of communication by alerting multiple people through multiple forms of media that someone is missing. You know, a child in particular under the age of 17 is missing. And so this is to galvanize the help and support of those in different cities and different municipalities to possibly, if you see this white car, you know, to be on alert, you know, this because this person who's abducted this child is driving this particular white car. So that's it's supposed to do that. It's supposed to serve that purpose.
Yes, sir. So the question, of course, is, in having that Amber Alert notification come through our phones, how often are we getting alerts about our own Black and Brown community?
I would say not often enough. As a matter of fact, we don't even have the numbers on how many children are actually missing, which that alone creates a gap. Creates a gap by just not by not knowing the numbers. So we knew the numbers, you know, and some more details about that. And because of there's a criteria for an Amber Alert. You know, anytime there's a criteria like that, it doesn't give an opportunity for discretion. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of set in stone. And unless these criteria are met, the alert won't go out. So based on that alone, they're going to miss a lot. On top of their mindset is to not to care about the poor and disenfranchised anyway. So we're getting the short end of the stick in two different ways. Just by an antiquated system, and then no love being in the system for the disenfranchised and the minority, so to speak.
Yes, sir. So again, the question would be, what is the criteria that is being utilized in the police department and the missing report foundations that standardize an Amber Alert to go out?
Well, one of the things is the law enforcement have to have a reasonable belief that an abduction occurred. So it's using their discretion just to even determine if somebody got abducted. So with that being said, you know, they don't even think police brutality, the level of police brutality is police brutality. So we can't lean on their discretion in that regard to determine if somebody been abducted. They might just say, oh, that's a domestic dispute or something like that, and not take it seriously. You know, so that's one of them. Another one is they have to believe that the child is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death. So with that being said, there you go again. You're relying on someone else's discretion who may not have your best interest in mind. There's enough descriptive information about the victim, you know, so all these things is their criteria. And then the child has to be 17 years old or younger. Let's see, what else? Make sure I haven't missed nothing. Like the child's name and if the child has been entered into, I believe they have some kind of system called the National Crime System or something like that. So these criteria just, if it don't meet those criteria, guess what? There's no alert. So
say, for example, Paul, say, for example, a child came up missing an hour ago, and a mother, say they're 8 years old, don't have a clue where they are. Mom goes to the police department. She's in frantic and she's asking for help. What will the police do at that point?
They might say, hey, there's not enough time passed by to determine that this is the case. And so as you know, in search and rescue, those first few hours is most critical when you're dealing with search and rescue. So while you sitting waiting, it's like being in an emergency room with a gunshot wound, and you're sitting there and you shot 3-4 times in the chest, and you got to fill out paperwork and wait. You know, it's the same thing.
Wow. Because oftentimes we are given the standard or criteria 24 hours. Because they most times label our children or our people in the community as runaways.
Runaways, right?
That 24 hours that you mentioned is a very critical time indeed. You mentioned about search and rescue, and we see it on TV, different individual groups doing that. What is your opinion on us creating and having our own search and rescue teams in our communities?
Well, it must be a top priority, actually, because it is always already said that you shouldn't even look for help for 72 hours in a disaster. But when we look at the disaster that happened in Puerto Rico, they were without power for almost a year. Some of
Yes,
them
sir.
may still be without power. So we know that number has increased exponentially. So it is top priority that we must organize a search and rescue team and utilize the technology to make that happen.
Yes, sir. And what is the criteria for those who are interested in wanting to part up with a search and rescue team to be able to help that maneuver in their communities?
The criteria should just be desire. Desire is what feeds the will. So if you got the desire in your heart, then the love in your heart for children and for human beings in general, because adults get abducted too. So it can't be limited to children. This has to be an alert, not just for little Amber, because that's who it was named after, a little 9-year-old named Amber. So not just for little Amber, but Big Bob and Big Joe and Big Bodie too. And Sister Sarah and Sister Chiquita can come up missing too. So keeping that in mind, we have to have a human alert system, and organize these search and rescue teams, which I have some training in search and rescue as well.
Awesome. Yeah, because you see, not to idolize any, or I won't say idolize, but trying to isolate a group of people. But when a white woman or a white child comes up missing, they send all boots on the ground.
That's right.
They have the drones flying around through the area. They're on feet. They have weapons. They have dogs. And unfortunately, when little Ray Ray come up missing, we're not
Right.
getting the same
This
services.
is business as usual.
So go ahead.
It's business as usual
Hmm.
when little Ray come up. So the responsibility is on us. 8 out of 10 households got children in them. If we just
Hmm.
speaking to children. So to not know how many are missing, yet 8 to 10 households got children in them, that ratio is so, crazy when you think about it. So that should tell us the level of importance, and we all were children at one point. So we got to do something and keep it
Yes.
going. I was a part of a search and rescue of a particular young lady, and what happened was she was on the back pages, and they baited her in with modeling. She wanted to be a model, so she thought she was going to be a model. They sent her money and everything to come from St. Louis to Kansas City, and then when she got there, everything seemed okay at first. She said that she was there was a family, actually. They had this mock family with little children to make her feel comfortable. But she said after maybe 2 or 3 days, they would lock her in a room,
Wow.
you know, because they had made her feel so comfortable, but then they locked her in a room with like no furniture and not much in there, and the tables turned a little bit. So it's a mind game that's being played here. Thank God, thank Allah that she was able to escape, and we was able to track her back to St. Louis, because we were able to get data from the Greyhound bus station of the video footage, and showed where she had went, that she had actually got back on the train, so at a certain time.
Yes, sir. For those who are just now joining in, I have special guest Brother Paul Muhammad from Atlanta, Georgia, and he is a search and rescue. He's over the communication department for 10,000 Fearless First Responders. Our national coordinator, Sister Christina Muhammad, and we work tirelessly in the community to bring awareness into training and keep everybody up to speed on communication and why it's important to not rely on cell phones. Brother Paul wanted to speak about that because a storm hit here in Dallas a couple of weeks ago
Hmm.
and communication was very limited. Text messaging, possibly, phone calls, it was rare. So, why is it important in dealing with a disaster or even dealing with search and rescue? Why is it important for us to not rely on means of communication by cell phone?
Because those systems are tied to, say, cell phone towers, and if that cell phone tower goes down, you don't have that form of communication no more. if that landline goes down, you don't have that form of communication no more. So my suggestion to people is to learn about amateur radio, also known as ham radio, which when you study almost every disaster, the ham radio or amateur radio has always come to the rescue, and then develop a system around amateur radio because these are independent of the cell phone towers. It is independent of the landlines. So even if an earthquake strikes, if a hurricane strikes, the flood strikes, you still got this device, but you need to learn how to use the device, learn how to have backup battery systems. They also can work on repeaters that are like cell phone towers, but it's not like if the cell phone tower go down, you out of luck. If the repeater tower go down, you're not out of luck with ham radio because you can still communicate radio over radio. And I like to add another caveat to that. It's the drone. Drone technology is a form of communication too, because you can use a drone to transfer information to someone else to drop a load, drop a payload of a first aid kit or food to someone who you can't get to by physical means. And also, now these drones can have what's called thermal cameras. So when you're doing search and rescue and you're flying over trees, like in Georgia, there's a lot of trees, so you can't really see. But when you got a thermal camera on that drone, it can see the thermal footprint of a human body. If it's inanimate or if it's animate, it'll pick that up, and so you can develop your system around that as well.
Wow, that's amazing. And the thing about that, highlighting what you're saying, Brother Paul, that means we have to stay up to modern times. Because
Oh,
the
absolutely.
police department have it, the army forces have it, the services have it to be able to have people out here doing these things. We have to be able to, number one, patrol our own communities, and we have to up our equipment to be able to be up with modern time, not guns and having carry weapons and all that, just a matter of being able to protect and other means of our communities and be able to deal civilly and smart. We want to work smarter, not harder.
That's right. Well,
Highlight that. So in that too, Brother Paul, when you're talking about communication, you're dealing with, I deal with a lot, as you know, with sex and human trafficking and organ harvesting. And how often do you feel that it's reported a girl is missing for that reason, limited to communication? Of course, she has no cell phone. She has no way to be able to SOS nobody. But they want to be able to communicate with somebody in that dangerous or life-changing situation. What suggestion would you have in that manner for someone who's caught up right now and wants to get out but can't communicate?
well, what they need to do is be proactive and have something in place just in case. Always think just in case. It's a mindset. Safety is a mindset before it's anything else. So it starts here. So it starts with your thinking, to think like, what if? What Paul Muhammad, what if I got abducted? Could I leave some cookie crumbs behind some kind of way? And those cookie crumbs could be like, you watch a movie, somebody's kidnapped, they tear a piece of their clothing off and leave it where the person who's abducting them can't see it per se. And then they tear another piece off and tear another little piece off here and there. So they just leaving these cookie crumbs. Now your cookie crumbs might be something different, but think about what your abduction cookie crumbs may be, and then be proactive.
Wow, proactive and not reactive, and
That's right.
keep yourself out of harm's way as much as possible.
Because I'm sure they're gonna take, if they're gonna abduct someone, they're gonna take their cell phone or they're gonna take their normal mode of communication away from them. Also, years ago we were looking into these beakers, like these GPS things that could be embedded into your clothing, and et cetera, into your hair, maybe. So they doing it to animals. I mean, they putting chips in their body. We're not going to do that. We're not going to go that extreme, but you could put a chip in someone's clothing, so we got to start thinking like that, since we know this is a business now. This is how people live now. They profiting off of human beings, in that fashion. So we learn in martial arts, for every move, there's what? A counter move.
Counter move, yes, sir.
So
real quick. And since you mentioned about that too in martial arts, it's very important too that everyone try to find some form of defense training. You ain't trying to
That's
be
right.
Bruce Lee, but you want to be able to have that be so natural for you that if someone comes and grabs you or attacks you, it wants to flow effortlessly, not having to think about, I gotta do that right here. I gotta do that right here. I gotta do that right here. You want to go so when you grab that person come and attack you, you want each strike and each motion to be able to count because they have intentions for you, right? They have an idea they've already planned out for you. You're the one caught off guard, right? So you
That's
want to
right.
be able to be proactive and not reactive to the response in that. Brother Paul, before we end this conversation, because you highlighted very keyful components for everyone who's heard, I want you like to share your information a way someone wants to communicate with you. They want to ask questions. I encourage everybody to contact this brother. 10,000 field first responders are out in the community. It's a team in your city, wherever you may be, who is working to make these things happen. And if it's not happening, guess what? Step up to the plate and you make
Step
it
up to the
happen.
plate.
We want
That's
to be
right.
able to have this a worldwide thing where we can be able to patrol and protect and love on our people like no other. So, Brother
That's
Paul,
right.
do you want to share your information with the people, please?
Oh, yes, ma'am. My email, I'm gonna give you my email. You can also inbox me at Paul Muhammad 7 on Instagram. And also you can find me on Facebook. I don't know what my Facebook handle is. I think it's Paul.Muhammad1.
It's Paul
Uh,
Muhammad.
but you'll see my face on there. So just put up Paul Muhammad in there. My email is navigation, like navigating a boat, navigation of OF peace, PEACE, navigation of peace at gmail.com.
Okay, great.
I'll say it one more time, navigation of peace, PEACE at gmail.com. So if you interested in learning more about ham radio, how to establish your family emergency communication plan, we do classes, things of that nature. So talk to your brother.
And he's on it, you all. He is on it. And I want to say too, those who have started their ham radio training and haven't finished it, those who say, God, it takes too long to get my ham radio certification, guess what? It's going to pay off for you. The matter of not if it's going to happen, it's when it happens. Are you going to be ready? So you want to be able to be consistent and drive. When you want something, you'll work for what you want. And it may
That's
not
right.
matter right now, but definitely in a moment, that ham radio slash amateur radio is going to save your life. I promise you.
Absolutely.
Brother Paul, I want to thank you indeed for joining me today here on
Thank you for
National
having
Network
me.
Review. Of course, and I will have you come back again, inshallah, to be able to further our conversation on this because it's a big topic, and we only have a short period of time to break it down. But I want to dive into some more things with you to be able to break down for our people.
All right.
Yes,
Thank
so you
you.
have a wonderful day indeed. Thank you for tuning into NNV News. Follow us on Facebook, National Network View. Also follow us on YouTube, National Network View. This is Danielle X with nnvnews.com.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir.